This is a recording of one of our online sessions for parents and carers, which explores support for pupils who have communication and interaction needs. It is part of a short series of videos focusing on school support for pupils with different types of special educational need, or SEN. We know that many children and young people have difficulties which can fall into more than one category of SEN, so you may want to watch another video in this series. But just bear in mind that the majority of slides about the graduated approach to SEN support will be the same in each of these videos. For this recording, we've received input from the Specialist Education Service in Suffolk for pupils with communication and interaction needs. This team provides advice and support to schools, so they are well placed to explore what kind of strategies schools might reasonably explore with you. This recording will explore some key principles of SEN support, including whole school and whole class approaches from slide 4. I'm going to explain what's known as the graduated approach or the graduated cycle of SEN support and how you and your child are involved from slide 11. We're going to look at some examples of targeted support which schools can reasonably offer for pupils with communication and interaction needs from slide 14. We'll discuss positive approaches for working with schools from slide 23. And we'll explore the advice schools can access if a child or young person needs more support from slide 32. We've created timestamps under this video's description on YouTube, so if you want to watch all or part of this recording again, you can click on a particular section and the video will start at that point. I'm going to be referring to the Special Educational Needs and Disability Code of Practice in this recording. This is statutory guidance, so it comes directly from law. You can download this for free. It is very long, but you could scroll through to Chapter 6, which is all about SEN support in schools, and I'll be giving exact references to the code in these slides. So let's start by looking at some key principles about support for pupils. The SEN code says that all children and young people are entitled to an education that enables them to make progress so that they achieve their best, that they become confident individuals living fulfilling lives and make a successful transition into adulthood, whether that's into employment, further or higher education or training. So schools are expected to support a child or young person to develop not just their academic skills, but the social skills and self-confidence they will need so that they can move successfully into adult life, whatever they choose to do. The law expects high quality or quality first teaching, which is personalised and flexible for the whole class. This means being flexible with the way teachers teach and communicate, and how they use resources to help all pupils understand and learn. This is called differentiation. And some pupils with additional needs may have all or some of their needs met through this differentiation for the whole class. There is a much greater recognition now that many approaches which are good for pupils with SEN are good for all pupils. So there's more emphasis on establishing inclusive learning environments where SEN support is an essential part of whole school practice rather than an add-on. In our experience, when parents meet with school to discuss support, they often want to talk about targeted interventions for their child, and we want to encourage you to also explore whole school and whole class approaches which would help your child and other pupils. Many children and young people with SEN have told us that they don't like to stand out as different in school. So the more whole school and whole class approaches are able to support them, the more included they will feel. Many of the strategies the Specialist Education Service for pupils with communication and interaction needs have recommended are suitable for use by the whole class and often the whole school. Special interest clubs, for example around cookery or science, or gaming clubs like Minecraft or Marvel and anime clubs, can also provide structured activities during break or lunchtimes. turn-taking games, or offering sensory boxes, teaching how to work in a group, and offering quiet spaces for busy times of the day are all small adjustments that all schools can make to support pupils with communication and interaction needs. These strategies can be used for all pupils. What is good practice for SEN pupils is good practice for all. This slide shows examples of adjustments to support the learning in the classrooms, making learning more accessible and easier to process. Visual timetables are helpful to all pupils, providing a clear plan of the day and helping pupils to know what is coming next. All children and young people benefit from a clear, consistent routine, and this can be easily supported through visuals in the classroom. Providing additional processing time, adapting how staff word their questions, making expectations clear and visual, these are all strategies which can be found in an inclusive classroom, which will help children and young people with communication and interaction needs, along with other pupils. The specialist education services also encourage whole school and whole class adjustments which support children and young people with expressing how they feel and with understanding their own emotions. When we feel anxious, under pressure or distressed, it can be difficult for us all to express how we are feeling and to find the right words. Using visuals like these can give children and young people a visual language to show adults how they feel or ask for help. Feeling charts or cards, feelings key rings, feelings temperature gauges can all be used discreetly with an adult without the need for verbal communication. Timeout cards are helpful for pupils to signal that they need a break, and many schools use the traffic light visual at the end of a lesson to support children and young people to show how they feel about their learning. It's a safe way to show the teacher if they don't understand. Now we've talked about the fact that whole class and whole school adjustments may meet the needs of some children with additional difficulties, but there will be others who will need more help. They may have a special educational need identified, which means they need support which is additional to or different from the support made generally for other children or young people of the same age. Following the Children and Families Act of 2014, nurseries, schools and further education colleges are expected to follow what's known as the graduated approach to SEN support. This involves a 4-stage cycle of assess, plan, do and review, and we're going to look at each of these stages in turn in this recording. Schools must inform you when they are making special educational provision, which means support, for your child. Now the first stage in the cycle is assessing your child's needs, and this is where the setting draws on their understanding of your child's progress and attainment, draws on the views of you and your child, and if relevant, the advice of external services. The SEN Code is clear that schools should take seriously any concern raised by a parent. The second stage is where support for your child is planned. Here the teacher, and often the Special Educational Needs Coordinator or SENCO, explores and agrees with you, and as far as possible with your child, what support and interventions they will offer based on what your child needs to be able to do. The plan can also include how parents can be involved in supporting this process at home. It should be clear what impact is expected from these support strategies and also a date for reviewing these to check that they are working. And all teachers and support staff, including teaching assistants and lunchtime supervisors, should be made aware of this support plan, and it should be recorded. So even though there is no longer a requirement for an individual education plan or IEP, you can ask for a copy of the support plan. Now we're just going to pause for a moment to think about the kind of support that schools might reasonably explore with you. Remember though, these are just examples. Every child is different and will present with different needs. so this is just to help build your overall understanding and confidence when talking to schools. Many children and young people with communication and interaction needs also have some sensory difficulties. The Specialist Education Service encourages schools to try different resources and activities to support these needs. Sensory play boxes or calming boxes can provide short sensory breaks in the classroom. Small sensory fiddle toys, for example, key rings or stress balls or textiles, can be used discreetly and kept in a pencil case or a pocket to use as needed. Children and young people with sensory needs often struggle with transition times and busy, noisy corridors at break times, particularly in high schools. Small adjustments can easily be made to support, such as leaving the classroom 5 minutes early to move around before the corridors get too busy. Your child or young person might also benefit from some short movement breaks in the day. This doesn't mean the involvement of any expensive equipment. Successful movement breaks might involve a simple errand to another part of the school. This could be real or staged, like asking the pupil to collect some books or a pen from another teacher. This has the additional benefit of giving a sense of responsibility and providing the opportunity for the child or young person to be thanked by teachers at both ends for their helpfulness. There are a number of adult-led interventions to support social skills and social communication, including small group activities that teach pupils with similar difficulties the skills they need to communicate effectively and to develop friendships. Lego therapy focuses on developing collaborative play skills, where each child is given a role, such as a builder or supplier. It works on key areas of social interaction, such as turn-taking, listening, initiating play, eye contact, problem-solving, and sharing. In addition to this, it helps with language concepts like size, prepositions, and colours. Time to Talk is a programme to develop oral and social interaction skills for children aged between 4 to 6 years. It contains over 40 sessions which are designed for children who will be seen 2 to 3 times a week. Circle of Friends is different from Circle Time and is an approach developed by psychologists to increase the inclusion of a child or young person who is experiencing difficulty, including on a social level. It encourages the child's peers to provide support and to help solve the difficulty. The teacher meets with the circle for around 20 to 30 minutes each week to help encourage the problem solving. Structured break times offer an activity planned and led by an adult during playtimes. These can include playground games or interest clubs like drama clubs. These provide pupils with safe spaces to go to at break times, an adult to chat to, and a less formal way of learning about social communication. Carol Gray, an award-winning consultant in the area of autism, developed some interventions for children and young people with autism which can benefit other pupils with communication and interaction difficulties. And on screen here are just 2 interventions which are often used in learning settings. Personalised stories, or social stories, describe a particular social situation and the relevant social cues, different perspectives and common responses which might occur in that situation. They are very effective in, for example, helping a child or young person familiarise themselves with a situation and respond positively, or to prepare for change. Comic strip conversations help children and young people develop greater social understanding. They are an example of how drawing can provide a visual representation of the different levels of communication that take place in a social situation, using symbols and stick figure drawings. By seeing the different elements of a conversation presented visually, some of the more abstract aspects of social communication, such as recognizing the feelings and intentions of others, are made more concrete and are therefore easier to understand. Comic strip conversations can also offer an insight into how a person perceives a situation. Examples of personalised strategies which can help pupils manage their school environment include ear defenders or earbuds, individual workstations, as can be seen in the second image, adjusting window blinds or lighting for pupils with sensory needs, offering safe places and agreeing a member of staff to be a key person for your child or young person to go to, and offering a seat wedge or footrest, again to help address sensory regulation difficulties. If your child or young person has sensory issues, you may like to watch our separate recording around SEN support for pupils with sensory processing needs, with inputs from occupational therapists from the Sensory Pathway team in Suffolk. Strategies change and adjust as children grow older. For example, ear defenders that were suitable in primary school may not feel appropriate for a pupil in Year 10, depending on their wishes. It is always important for learning settings to get to know pupils individually, listen to their voice and what they are finding difficult to manage and how they want to be supported to personalise strategies. And we will look at resources which may help your child's voice to be heard a bit later in this recording. Schools can record your child's needs and support in different ways. They might use resources like pupil passports or one-page profiles like the templates you can see on screen. Whatever form is used, what is important is that you and your child have been fully involved and fully understand what has been agreed. In order to engage with the support in school, your child needs to understand what the point is, in other words, what they will be able to do with the help. And they need to know what that support will look like so they can be prepared for what to expect. And you need to be clear so that you can support your child to work with school. Now we come to the third stage in the graduated cycle of support, where the setting gets on and puts the agreed support in place. With the support of the SENCO, the class or subject teacher oversees the support and should work closely with teaching assistants and specialist staff to assess the impact of the support plan. The law is clear that schools must use their best endeavours to make sure that a child with SEN gets the support they need. This means doing everything they can to meet children and young people's SEN. However, this doesn't mean that they all have to offer the same strategies, and the culture and physical environment of a school can influence this. Every child is different, and sometimes schools may need to try different ideas before they find what works best for your child. So if a setting is unable to offer a particular strategy that you or your child requests, it's important to ask, what can they offer instead that will have a similar impact to meet your child's needs? What is key is that they are doing all they can to meet your child's individual needs. And the final and very important stage in the graduated cycle is the review, where the setting evaluates the impact and quality of the support, deciding on any changes with you and your child. So you would be looking at what has worked well, what hasn't worked as well as expected, and what the setting can do next to try and help your child make better progress. The SEN code says that parents should have clear information about the impact of the support and interventions provided, enabling them to be involved in planning next steps. So just to be clear, for nurseries and schools, the SEN code says that parents and pupils should be involved in 3 stages of the graduated cycle: in assessing your child's needs, in exploring and agreeing the plan of support, and at the review. As the SEN code states, parents should be fully aware of the planned support and interventions. For further education settings, the emphasis will be on exploring and agreeing support directly with the young person. However, the SEN code states that parents should be involved, particularly for those aged 16 to 18 years. The SEN code also says that parents know their children best, and it's important that all professionals listen and understand when parents express concerns about their child's development. They should also listen to and address any concerns raised by the children and young people themselves. Research has shown that pupils make the best progress when families, schools, and where relevant, the local authority, are working together in equal partnership. So we encourage you to approach school offering to work with them to support your child. When preparing to meet with school to explore SEN support for your child, you might like to make bullet point notes of what you and your child think have been working well, what your child is still struggling with, and any ideas that you or your child think might help. Or you may find that a one-page profile helps your child or young person to share and capture their views. The Helen Sanderson, Chef Kids, and Preparing for Adulthood websites have many person-centered resources and one-page profile templates which you can download for free, like the one you can see on screen. This short video, created by the Psychology and Therapeutics Services in Suffolk, explains what a one-page profile is and how to create one. Some families have chosen to take photos with their child or young person of the resources and approaches which help best at home or have helped in previous settings and have emailed these to school. Don't forget to share what your child enjoys doing. If your child is distracted or upset at school, presenting or talking about something they enjoy may be the best way to help them refocus or calm down. We would encourage you to acknowledge the school view and experience along with sharing your own. It's common for pupils with additional needs to present very differently at school and at home, as the environments and structure of the day are so different. So aim to pool everyone's understanding about your child's needs in equal partnership. Agree to work towards the future. Try not to dwell on past problems. It's helpful to spend the majority of your discussions on exploring solutions together. And before your meeting ends, check back and record any agreed actions or ask the school to email a record to you. Make sure that you all have the same perception of what has been agreed, who is responsible, and what the reasonable time frame is for these actions to happen. We can offer a session for parents and carers called Working with Schools, which explores practical and solution-focused approaches for preparing for and managing meetings and conversations with school or the local authority. It's helpful for you to be aware of the school's SEN information report. All schools must publish this report on their website, and the information must include explaining how the school assesses a child's SEN, how they review your child's progress, and evaluate how effective the SEN support plan is. It must show how the school will involve you and your child in the process of identifying and supporting SEN, and explain the approach to teaching pupils with SEN and how adaptations are made to the curriculum and to the environment. This report is a tool for you and your child to refer to. It should increase your confidence and your child's confidence and understanding of the graduated cycle of SEN support. The SEN code therefore says that it should be easily accessible and written in a way which is easy for you and your child to understand. When your child is moving to a new school, the SEN information report will be a good starting point to help you to find out more about the SENCO and the school approach to SEN support. SEN support should include planning and preparation for the transitions between different phases of education and preparation for adult life. You may find our training sessions and videos around transition helpful, along with information and frequently asked questions on our SENDIAS website. Now we've talked about the fact that the law expects the needs of the majority of pupils with SEN to be met through the 4-stage cycle of SEN support. But sometimes, despite a setting's best endeavours, and trying different strategies of support, a child or young person might still struggle with their learning and require more support. The SEN code says that where a pupil in school continues to make less than expected progress, despite evidence-based support and interventions matched to the pupil's area of need, the school should consider involving specialists. And in further education settings, the SEN code still expects specialist help to be involved where the student's needs are not being met by strong evidence-based support. So who might these specialist and outside agencies be? Every county will have some specialist services able to support schools to support pupils with SEN, and the county's local offer website will give details of these. In our county of Suffolk, there are 5 specialist education services. The first 4 services match the categories of special educational need outlined in the SEN Code of Practice. So there is a cognition and learning team who can offer support and advice for pupils with a range of learning needs, including moderate learning difficulties and specific learning difficulties like dyslexia and dyscalculia. The SEMH team offers support for pupils with a range of social, emotional and mental health difficulties. The Communication and Interaction team offers advice and help for pupils with speech and language and/or social communication needs. And there is a team to offer advice and support for pupils who have sensory and physical needs. This includes pupils with hearing and visual loss or multisensory loss, and physical difficulties like issues with coordination and balance and gross and fine motor skills. In addition, our County of Suffolk has a whole school inclusion team which supports whole school practice around SEN and inclusion. In line with the SEN Code of Practice, these specialist education services can support children and young people between the ages of 0 to potentially 25 years if the young person is still in some form of education or training and there are still learning needs. No formal diagnosis or education health and care plan is needed to access these education services. Parent consent is required and the education setting should discuss the referral with you, sharing aims and what everyone would like your child to be able to do with the additional support and advice. Every county council will employ a team of educational psychologists, and in Suffolk, the Psychology and Therapeutic Services can offer further advice and support around emotional well-being, mental health, behaviour and learning on an individual, group and whole school basis. Their service also includes a team of inclusion facilitators who can offer immediate therapeutic support, frequently at times of transition or high anxiety. The Communication and Interaction Service works with schools to help them better understand the needs of children and young people with additional communication and interaction needs, and how they can best be supported. They help schools and families develop support plans to help the child or young person attend, access and engage in school fully and safely. Staff will complete observations, model strategies to school staff and offer advice and guidance, and may work directly with pupils as appropriate. They adapt their support depending on the individual needs of pupils and also the needs of the individual schools, how much support they might need. If you are worried about your child, talk to your school and your school's SENCO to find out what support is already being offered. As soon as a child or young person is identified as having additional communication and interaction needs, schools can seek advice and guidance at a weekly inclusion support meeting. These are anonymous discussions where schools can get quick advice and guidance around supporting pupils with additional needs. If more support is required, then with your agreement, your child's learning setting can make a full referral to the service using the Inclusion Service Referral Form. More information about the Communication and Interaction Service, including some parent resources, are available via Suffolk's local offer, which has individual web pages explaining the different specialist education services in our county. If a child or young person may need support which goes beyond the resources available to settings for SEN support, it may be helpful to request an Education, Health and Care or EHC needs assessment. These assessments help identify the education, health and care needs which are making it difficult for a child to learn in a nursery, school or college, and identify the support which may be required to meet those needs. A parent or young adult between the ages of 16 and 25 years can request an EHC needs assessment at any time. We have lots of information and videos about the EHC process on our Suffolk Sendias website and YouTube channel, which you might find helpful, along with further information about inclusion and equality for children with special educational needs, disabilities and medical conditions. This video was made by Suffolk Sendias, but every county has an impartial and confidential SEND information, advice and support service.